about them Cowboys. It's the Cowboys Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Well, June is here, and so is another show for us as the Locked On Cowboys Squad Show continues. We start with a welcome to the it's different. I have to point the other way than, something like that. We start with a welcome to the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Landon McCool, and my co-host during the in-season Cowboys postcast. We're getting closer, Coach. The coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, coming up on today's episode, the very latest with the Cowboys. OTAs resume today at the start. They're going to wrap up actually later this week. We'll have more of those dates for you and everything that you need to know coming up. But Landon, Coach, we're going to kick things off today with a good old-fashioned George Pickens social media firestorm. Okay, maybe firestorm is a little much, but hey, come on, it's June. we gotta spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Apparently, this was a big buzz over the last 24 hours on social media. I saw it first thing this morning that George Pickens said he was the one that orchestrated the trade. The context I saw it was that somebody reached out and tried to find out what happened, and basically his response, which has now been deleted, was, "I forced, buddy. They were gladly keeping me. Have a nice day and a blessed one, my guy." That was in the deleted post. Now, some, I don't want to mention names, but some were skeptical and thought it was like a social media hoax, right? But turns out Pickens posted the exact same post on his 100% confirmed Instagram account before deleting that one as well. So what do you guys think? It sounds like George is saying he picked.
I love that part of our job has become kind of tracing down social media rabbit hole nonsense, but it is what it is. I listen, and mea culpa, I kind of flagged this specific situation because I did want to talk about it because I think the idea that Pickens requesting a trade kind of puts a new kind of context on the trade. We can debate whether or not, G Pizzle or whatever the Twitter account was that tweeted it out, whether it's valid or not. But let's have a conversation as if it was valid and what that could potentially mean. I think it kind of puts into new light a little bit about the I don't want to say the validity, but like the desperation that Pittsburgh was potentially feeling when they made this trade, and I guess maybe it puts better shape to what the desperation was. Less of a this guy is so much of a problem that we got to get rid of him versus he is the kind of driving force, but wanting to get out of there. Which I do think there are some things to this that could make sense. I mean, he's going into his contract year. Look, we discussed on this very show the list of quarterbacks that he's had to deal with, and on our show, on the Daily Show, Marcus and I have discussed not only that, but the list of wide receivers that he's been paired with over that amount of time. And so, I can understand a guy that is looking to get paid, who knows that he doesn't want to stay in Pittsburgh, could want to, request a trade to go someplace where he's going to be utilized better, and hopefully try to earn some more money for himself. So I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is true, it certainly makes some sense to the whole situation and certainly provides some context that potentially would make you feel better about the trade overall.
I mean, can you imagine flipping the script here and us being in Dallas and we don't know who the quarterback? Let's just say we don't know if Rodgers, is he in? Is he out? Pickens out. Can't get T.J. Watt signed. I mean, we would have a field day on this show if the script was flipped. And so I don't know. These young people today. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not on all that stuff, but I can't imagine. Everything feels so knee-jerk reactionary when guys just put something out there and then they read it a time or two and they're like, oh man, that sounds bad. Hit the delete key, for crying out loud. And so, it's a lot easier to hit enter or to hit send than it is to, do the West Coast pushback and move away from it and say, man, that just doesn't sound very good. That just doesn't have the same ring to it. So I don't know. I get where we're at in the season right here, and we're trying to make something out of, a young man putting something out on social media. But I will say this, when it comes to, and when you think about trading guys, or when you think about wanting out of a place, or you think about saying, I've had enough of going to camp in Latrobe. I've kind of had I've just kind of had an ass full of the whole place. I don't want any more Rolling Rocks. Not interested in being in the home of the banana split. I'm ready to move on from something else. There are a lot of players that say, hey man, I'm going to go in here and see if I can, I'm going to see if I can get myself kind of out of this situation. And I think, there probably is some smoke there to him saying, I want out of here. I mean, can you imagine? Let's see. You want to go to Thousand Oaks, California, or you want to go to Latrobe? Give me Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point too. Like, it's not even just like, Pittsburgh had a normal bad quarterback situation, right? Like it's like historically bad, and Pittsburgh has been very clear about nibbling around the edges at the most important position in football, and it's crazy to me, and it's kind of been something that they've done as an organization for a long time, and they've gotten away with. Is you think about, like, even when last time they outside of Roethlisberger, some of the few times they go to the Super Bowl, they go with Neil O'Donnell. They've had, there's just several times when they've had kind of middle of the pack at best quarterback play, and they still consistently manage to be, win 9-10 games, 8-9-10 games every single year, which is admirable. But if you're a wide receiver who's trying to, accumulate stats in order to get a new contract, I can understand feeling frustrated and like looking at that situations and going, okay, so basically you're having a standoff with Aaron Rodgers. It's June. Nothing has been decided. Like he may have made the right decision as far, if, again, hypothetical, if this is true, he may have made the right decision to kind of, ask for or push for a trade if that's the case, because that is a situation in which it's hard to make an argument that Pittsburgh is lining themselves up offensively to put themselves in a position to have the kind of offense that you want to get you paid. I mean, I can, and he put up with that situation for a long time, and we've been calling it, folks in the media have been calling him a malcontent. I could, listen, his behavior is his behavior. There's no way around that. But in the kind of modern way of the NBA-ization of the NFL, right? It feels like players are more vocal about wanting to make sure that they're in a situation that is going to be good for them financially. So I could see this being a very real thing. And I agree with you. If it is a real thing, man, Pickens, shut up. Don't talk. You don't need to talk about it in the media. Yeah, I like it. Push. Coach is right. Push away or put the phone down, and don't tweet about it. And it's interesting fodder for folks like us, but it's certainly. I mean,
we have. I mean, there's guys in our profession that are well respected. I'm not going to mention any names. I mean, they'll answer every tweet. I mean, to some Griswold who's got 5 followers, and you're like, what are you doing? I mean, so. I'm not gonna take anywhere even remotely take this out of context. This is a position that is a diva position. Make no mistake about it, and it's been that way for a long time. And I would never say anything, constructive constructively critical about Pittsburgh's organization. I mean, they are a flagship organization with everything they do, from ownership to how they handle coaches to what they do. It's all positive. But guess what? I mean, this is a young man who, again, is in that diva position, who wants the football. We've called the roll on the list of the quarterbacks. I mean, I was reading a while ago where they said, there was somebody who said Kenny Pickett is the worst player in Brown's OTAs. I mean, so I'm not bashing anybody. I'm simply saying,
no, it's fair.
Sometimes you go and you hit the reset key. Sometimes you just you need a different environment. You need a different, everything needs to be different. The taste of the food needs to be different. The taste in the water needs to be different. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so, hey, I'm gonna say this kid's gonna go light it up until I see differently. And the fact that he put a knee-jerk post out there and then took it down, does that make me change the way? No, it does not.
I love that, Coach. That's awesome. And I would just add to it also, number one, the Steelers, to their credit and to what you guys are saying, I mean, they could have easily, in a move to kind of make themselves look better, or maybe try to get some media points after everything that's going on with the quarterback situation, they could have leaked it out that he requested a trade, but they didn't do that. If it's true, they kept that in-house. And I know for some people, the whole idea of a player demanding a trade, it's still, some people, it still rubs them the wrong way, right? It doesn't for me, because I get it. And it's that kind of blurred gray area where it's a business, but it's fun, right? And Coach, back in the day, guys they kept their mouths shut. There was no social media, and they just did what they were told and went where they were supposed to play. And it's a different time that we live in now. And you know what? Just judging by all the comments that I've heard from George Pickens, that the Pickens I've seen in Dallas is completely different than the Pickens that I envisioned in Pittsburgh from what the media has portrayed him out to be. I mean, even his reply to this tweet, "I forced, buddy." I mean, that's awesome. But I think, you can see a case where very, very quietly, he and his agents behind the scenes said, "Hey, look, thanks for drafting me, but just want to give you a heads up. We're not going to sign. So if you want to get rid of us or make a move, might be a good time to do it this offseason while you can, and try to make it a win-win." And because he's going to move on, and he wants to, like you said, be in an opportunity where he can shine and show his skills and get that next contract. I have no problem with that.
And what better than an organization that's going to be on how many Thursday night games they have? 3, 4? What is it?
Four.
Four Thursday night games, two Monday night games. I mean, what better position to be in than that? So, I don't blame him at all. I mean, I think he needs a fresh start, and that's nothing, absolutely nothing against Pittsburgh, and it's nothing against Latrobe. I went to Latrobe as a young – no, honest to God, this is a true story. When I first got the job at Northern Illinois, I was coming from Oklahoma, where we were running the wishbone, and we were going in to run a pro-style offense. And so during the month of vacation right there for a college coach, I decided I was going to go and get in the car, and I went over and spent a couple of days in Cleveland, and then I drove to Latrobe, and I kind of got to befriend Ron Earhart at the time. He was the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh, and I don't know if you've ever been to that camp there, but literally it's a pretty hilly place. And at the time, you had to go and actually pick up the film. I mean, you had to get the beta tape and then take it to the meeting. And he saw me as a young kind of, wannabe. Hey, here's this 25, 26-year-old guy who wants to be a coach. And okay, you know what? I can get this shitbird to go get my film every day, and he'll meet me up the hill. And I was glad to do it because he let me sit in on their meetings. And so I did for 3 years. I literally went over there and spent 2.5 weeks in Latrobe, and it's a cool place. And I got nothing bad to say, but again, Latrobe or Oxnard or Thousand Oaks or California.
Star. Yep.
Give me the left coast.
Well, one final thought, and then we'll take our first break. For whatever it's worth, Russell Wilson, who spent last season in Pittsburgh with George Pickens, said that Pickens is misunderstood. He's a difference maker, and he wants to be great, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, sign me up. Give me that guy.
Yeah, let's see it. Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Yeah, I like it. Good stuff. And we'll see Russ week 2 if everything goes according to schedule with the Cowboys and the Giants. All right, we're going to take our first time out. And when we come back, we have a couple of some stories on the win total, Zach Martin update. And did somebody leak? We've been waiting to find out what George Pickens' official number is going to be. Did somebody leak that? We'll get into that as well. Got a lot of people already jumping in via the comment crew. Thank you guys for getting in early. We even have Joe from Italy. He's watching tonight from Italy. Love that, Joe. I wish I was there.
Great.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. We're going to be back with more after this. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right. Well, as you know, as a small business owner, right? Okay. Your work does not end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. That's pretty cool. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. All right. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture, and that will double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Landon McCool and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, one more little note here on George Pickens. We've talked about his situation. So we're waiting for his official number, and some believe that the Cowboys may have accidentally, their team official shop, I should say, may have accidentally leaked the change.
What did Jerry Jr. do this time, Jeff?
It was previously reported that that was not done, but the team's official shop started selling Pickens jerseys with the number 3 on them.
Interesting. Okay.
But and they're actually still available for sale. But the one problem is Dante Fowler Jr., who played for the Cowboys before, was also assigned number 3. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, how that plays out. But nothing official yet.
They have a couple guys that are double numbered right now, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I obviously that happens when you have, the 90-man roster. I guess it's maybe even over 90 right now, right? So, but yeah, I think may not be official, and obviously, especially if Fowler is wearing 3. He didn't wear 3 before, did he? I can't remember what he wore before.
50 something. I thought it was a 50.
Was it? I think that sounds right. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that. So I've just been waiting for the announcement that Pickens is going to pay, $25,000 or $50,000 to Marquise Bell for 14, but maybe he's not so tied to 14. So who knows? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Catch him 1 year from now when he gets that new deal is what you need to do.
Yeah,
that's when it'll be a little different. It'll matter a little different. The zeros behind that 25, 2250, 2,500. Keep going.
He's still on a rookie deal right now, so he's got to pinch his pennies.
All right. And one other one here. And I didn't want to get into this again, but I feel like we have to at least update the situation with Micah and his contract. And that is, speaking of the Steelers, that apparently they have an offer on the table for TJ Watt. And so depending on which side of the camp you're on, some people think the Cowboys are waiting and it's good for them to wait to see. And then others are concerned that, well, if they don't jump in and take care of Micah now, they're going to pay more after TJ does his deal. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think Coach and I are in agreement about this, is that we both kind of think that this deal has already been negotiated, so
we've beaten this mule to death. I know.
Yeah, look, I think that the waiting till after the TJ Watt deal, that could be a double-edged sword for both sides. I mean, I guess a double-edged sword would apply to both sides, but because I think, maybe his number comes in lower than what you were expecting Micah to be paid. I mean, because Micah's a younger player. He's frankly been probably more productive in some ways as specifically a pass rusher. Listen, TJ Watt's a defensive MVP type player. I mean, defensive player of the year type, winner and candidate, that he's going to get paid a ton of money. But I do wonder if Micah wasn't already going to potentially clear the money that TJ Watt was going to make beforehand. So, I mean, obviously the other argument to make here is that every leaf that falls in the free agency for these kind of top end pass rushers usually means that the next person is going to get more money. But Micah Parsons is also, a rare player, like a rare talent. So I kind of feel like he was going to get top of the NFL non-quarterback money regardless. So I don't know if TJ Watt is actually moving the needle too much for the Parsons situation.
Yeah, I've said this, and I'll say it for maybe the sixth time. Structurally, this deal is done. Do they have, a little guaranteed money here? Do they have a little upfront money there? Do they have, is it a no trade scenario? We can put some little verbiage in there, but I don't think what TJ Watt does or doesn't do, what the Pittsburgh Steelers do or don't do, I don't think it's going to move the needle for Micah Parsons. Now, what has moved the needle? I mean, $1 million here. I just think we're in this scenario. Micah knows what the money is. Jerry knows what the money is. They know they've fit it in their cap. Now, how they put the clay pot on there and put a different little line in it here or a different scrape there, I think we'll get to know that pretty quickly.
All right. Good stuff. All right. We checked that box. I had to at least mention that. So thank you.
Yeah. Until he gets signed, we got to keep talking about it. So, let's finish this up. David and Micah and Gary and Steven and all the folks that are involved in this.
I'm curious, Landon. So we had some OTAs last week. They're back on today, tomorrow, and then they wrap up on Thursday. Was there anything noteworthy with you and Marcus that stood out?
I think right now we're kind of trying to read tea leaves. I do think the one thing we can talk, and I kind of wanted to get Coach's opinion about this, because what we did talk about this today is, and I don't know if, I hate to spring this on y'all, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but have either of y'all watched Michael Irvin speaking about his visit to the OTA practice the other day? Did you guys happen to catch that?
I did not see that. I did not. No.
So I'll just get into it very briefly, but basically it seems like, we've had these conversations on this show a little bit about the idea of culture, right? And what does Schottenheimer talk about when he's talking about building the world's best culture? What does that even mean? Is it just coach speak? La, 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 la. Irvin went to practice with the OTA practice. I think it was last week. And it was Legends Day, right? So they brought in a whole bunch of other former Cowboys from different time periods, and they all went in. And he commented that, like, every single thing that Schottenheimer did, whether it was in the larger team meeting or in the individual group wide receiver meetings or whatever, every single thing that he was a part of, there was competition under pressure, right? And he was forcing guys to get up at the like two at a time, get up on the whiteboard, and they would call out a play, and then it would be a race between two wide receivers to draw up the play and everybody's assignment and to try to get it done in time. And then later, when they would break down into the wide receiver room, they would do the same thing, except it would be a situation where they were randomly calling out guys' names, and they were having them stand up in front of the room, and you have to recite it perfectly from memory, what everybody's job is on a specific play. And again, he's just the point is that everything is about a competition, right? Everything is about being under pressure and being under competition. Mark, Anthony, yeah, I recommended on this on the show as well. If you haven't had a chance, Michael Irvin spoke about this for about 30 minutes on his podcast. You can go find it on YouTube somewhere if you get a chance. But at the end of all of this, the reason that I'm even bringing this up is because they go out on the field after all this, right? And he said that practice started out really crisp because guys were already kind of got their juices flowing because they were competing up there. There was also a segment in which they were together in team, and there was a free throw competition, right? Between the offense and the defense, and everybody's up and screaming and excited about it. They go out there and they look really crisp. And coach breaks them down for a break and says, "Man, you guys have earned this. You guys are doing a really great job. No, let's break or whatever." And they broke. And then they come back, and this is all very long-winded, but this is the point.
I love it. I love it.
They come back after the break, and Irvin recalls it as they still looked really crisp. They still looked really good, but Shoddy stopped practice right not too long after they had come back. And he laid the law down on them. He's like, "Hey, this, I just got done telling you guys that you did a great job, but this effort is absolutely horse manure. You need to get them out here and work better. You need to work harder. What happened to the group that I just praised, and slack it off?" And Irvin said that as Shoddy was doing this, there was like a whisper all over the crowd of the players, and everybody was kind of turning around going, Who was it? Who was he talking about? Who was doing it? And Irvin made the point that those guys whispering, those guys going, "Hey, who was it? Who slacked off?" That is the culture that is trying to be created in the Dallas Cowboys right now. It's a culture of everybody holding everybody else accountable, everybody competing all the time. And if you're not giving 100%, that the guy next to you is going to turn around, smack you upside the head, and make sure you get your head in the game, right? And make sure that you know your job and that you're giving full effort. So I just really love that because I think it just really helped crystallize in a real way, like what that actually means on a day-to-day basis. Like if you've got a group of guys who won't let you screw around and fail, like won't let you not know what you're doing. I don't know if it's going to make all the difference in the world, but I think it's going to make enough of a difference that it's going to be the difference between a young rookie putting in the extra time to get better, right? Like because because of the positive peer pressure that's happening on this team, right? And so that's on the margins there. I do really feel like that kind of internalized behavior, that's sort of like positive peer pressure for everyone to be doing their best, can have real significant improvements on the team by kind of just making it a culture of getting better for everybody and not allowing anybody to be in that room that is giving less than 100%, which I thought that was just really an interesting thing. And I kind of wanted to hear what Coach thought about that too.
When I think about, we all just have our own point of reference for where we experience things, where we grew up, the culture that we were in. And you think about Brian Schottenheimer and his dad, who was a legendary football coach, who was a good player. He was an overachiever as a player, was his dad, Marty, as a linebacker, but very much a competitive, obviously highly competitive field that he was in. And you see this as a kid. Then you go off to college and you go play for Spurrier, who, I mean, is as competitive as it is. I mean, he just as soon go take $500 from you on the golf course as he would anything. Okay, so that's the type of guy. I've met Schottenheimer a couple of times just to say hello, but I just know we all have a point of reference, and that's how we deal with life's curveballs that get thrown at us. Now, you put a guy like Michael Irvin in there, and I'm telling you, in my time, in my 9 years there, I've never been around a more dynamic, more magnetic, more I can't even think of all the terms that I would use for Michael, but Michael had deep in his gut, he had a true fear of failure. It was a true fear of failure. And I can't tell you how many times I saw Michael walk out to Valley Ranch and push himself to the level that I'd never seen anything like that before. And I mean, he pushed himself. I remember him telling me on a July day, and he's out there in full gear in July. And he said, stretch. And he would have this sled that you could put 45-pound plates on. You could hook it up to your belt. And he'd say, I'm going to drag this son of a bitch till I can't drag it another foot. And he would push himself because of that fear of failure. And I never saw, we went out and timed, I know I've said this, we went out and timed Mike 10 times. He never run under a 4.6. But guess what? Nobody ever caught him. He never caught him. And so I think there's something to be said for, number one, you won't meet a more driven person with a magnetic personality than Michael. And then when you combine that with a Schottenheimer and his background, I could absolutely see where that's something that is going to be, magnified every day. But here's the thing I always go back to. What is it going to be like when adversity strikes? What is that going to be like? Because that's when you see the true heart of your football team, the true heart of everybody that's in the building is when adversity hits. And it's not if, it's when it hits. And then how do you respond? And so I'm sure that what Brian Schottenheimer is trying to do is create that mentality so that when the adversity hits, we're all challenging one another. We're accountable to one another. And you're looking to the guy to your right and you're looking to the guy to your left. And you know that they have your back. And that's the way I feel about Michael Irvin. I haven't talked to Michael in years. I haven't talked to him. But I'd be willing to bet you, I've got his number. I'd be willing to bet you if I called him up and said, Mike, he'd be there in 2 seconds. That's the kind of guy he is, and that's the kind of team that I know they're trying to build. Now, we live in a me culture. Don't kid yourself one bit. Today, and I don't even get off on this. I mean, every young man, it's all about me, look at me. And so I'm sure that there are coaches that are trying to get back to where it's more of a me culture, we and a lot less of a me.
It's a great point. And I just want to add one more thing that Michael mentioned. This may be the most impressive part, and you just kind of reminded me, right? Let's keep in mind who we're talking about, right? Like this is a group of young men ages 22, 21, right? 21 to 30. How old's Zach? 30, 31 years old, right? This is the oldest player on this team. Irvin said that he did not see a single phone out the entire 3-hour meeting that they were there. Think about that for a second. 3 hours with a bunch of 20-something-year-old men, not on their phone once, not on social media. And he attributed that to the interactivity of the meetings, and that the fact that Shoddy was keeping them engaged by, the free throw competition I mentioned, the competitive aspects of that. I think, going back to what Coach is just saying, like, I do think you're right. He's trying to find some of these guys that are a little bit more old school in their approach, in the sense of being committed, being dedicated, being responsible to your teammates, right? Being responsible to your coaches, right? And to yourself, and having a standard and meeting that standard, right? And it is interesting, because this is a different kind of culture, in the sense that these are definitely, more young men, right? Like, that's why I think they are more responding to the kind of coaching that is happening, that, in college nowadays, where it's a coach putting his arm around you and saying, hey, let's go do this together. Like, you and I are going to go achieve together, as opposed to, hey, we're going to do this my way, because I think, and that's not a criticism on that kind of coaching. I think it's a commentary on the type of young men that are playing football nowadays, and the type of young men, and how, and what they respond to, and good or not, I think it's about, like, meeting these folks where they are. And I do think that I like the combination of I don't know what to call it, like, but teaming up coaching, as opposed to, authoritarian coaching. I think it's, but all while still holding everybody accountable. Accountability still being a central aspect of the relationship there.
I'm just telling you, you have every single personality is different in there.
Yeah.
Every single personality. And so I'm trying to say, you're trying to get to a we instead of a me, because they're all different. Every one of them is different. And I don't know, Landon, do you have kids?
Yeah.
Children?
I do.
How you have a son? How old?
A daughter. She's 10.
How old is she?
She's 10.
Yeah. If she brings you some math homework problem, and you show her how to do it, and then she goes to the next problem, you stand over and go, what do you mean you don't know what on that problem? I just got through showing you what to do on that. You're telling me to do it, right? And then all of a sudden she's like, oh God. Or do you take more of the approach of, look at what we just talked about? I mean, I just think you have different these young men today are different than they were even 10 years ago. They are different with how they approach every single thing. And so, I listen to Coach Saban and what he says, and how he tries to decipher. Hey, I want to make sure I've got the right guys on the bus. I want to make sure that their asses are in the right seats on the bus. And then I can know our bus is loaded and ready to go. And I think when you get into pro football, which college football, what's the difference right now? Well, they got guys 24 and 25 years old in college football locker rooms.
That's right.
But
that's right, yeah.
You're still coaching, and you're still trying to get young men in a different culture to all know that I got your back, you got my back, and buddy, we're going to go immerse ourselves and get this done. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about how you do that. And every single person, you got to remember, has a different personality, and they tick in a little different way.
100% agree.
All right. Great segment, guys. That was awesome. Really enjoyed that very much. I think our audience did as well. We're going to take a really quick second time out. When we come back, we'll read some of those comments, and I got a couple of things I want to throw at you guys. We'll do that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. Told you it would be quick. Welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show. Landon McCool, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, one of our regulars, Stephen W., jumping in, saying, hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for the show. God bless. God bless you too. DJ Dog 31. Love the Snoopy cowboy emoji, DJ Dog. That is awesome. My middle daughter is a huge Snoopy fan. I've never seen that before on this, so that's great. Love that. He's had a few different comments, but Landon, a lot of people saw the Michael Irvin video, and they shared that with you. Mark Anthony, thank you. Joe, we talked about he's in Italy. He went to bed, though. It's 2 a.m. after 2 a.m. there.
Yeah.
Let's see who else.
Shout out to Yuma Cactus, is a very good buddy of mine.
Yes.
We always hit up Oxnard together, so it's definitely good to see him in here.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, nice little setup they have there in Oxnard. The whole just the whole setup there, and fans love it too. Going out there. I got to cover that and did some shows from there too. It was fun, a lot of fun. Robert Delgado says, I love the Cowboys Squad Show. Stephen White says, competition under pressure, grace under pressure. Mark Anthony says, Mr. McCool, spot on. They are becoming a team, a real team, not just talented individuals. Stephen says, culture to impede. Yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff there. I think too, I think without a doubt, the all-in mentality, I think, is really important when you're trying to establish a new foundation. I mean, it's critical. You got to have everybody on the same page, and even more so now than ever with so many external distractions and so many things going on, that you really need everybody on the same page when you're in the building together and, in your time together. But I think also, I think for a few years ago, right before last season, the Cowboys were kind of in that kind of trajectory of getting back to the Super Bowl, right? And had great regular seasons, didn't do well in the playoffs, but all that now is blown up. I mean, McCarthy's gone. That whole vibe is gone. A lot of people, we're going to talk about wins in a minute, but I mean, the good news is they're kind of at, kind of starting over in a lot of ways, and yet there's still a ton of talent on this roster. So they don't have the external pressure. They do because of the Cowboys, but I'm saying this is a perfect opportunity to kind of rebuild and reset, create a new culture, and let these guys kind of have a chip on their shoulder that, hey, we're coming. Watch out for us.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, the national media and frankly, probably other teams, probably don't know what to think about the Cowboys right now, right? Yeah. Like, I think they don't really have a good gauge on Schottenheimer, because I think Schottenheimer was not somebody that was on the radar to be a head coach candidate. Although, if you sit down and think about it, I mean, look, we could talk about everything he's done since he's been named the head coach, but, he has been a head coach candidate multiple times over his career in the NFL. I think that the thing that people didn't consider at the time was kind of the fit aspect of this, and how much Dak Prescott played into this situation, right? Because what you really didn't want to do was you didn't want to start completely over with Dak Prescott. And let's even be further clear. You weren't going to start over with Dak Prescott. Even if you brought in Ben Johnson, and maybe this is part of the reason they wouldn't have brought in Ben Johnson, is that you're going to, whoever it was that they were bringing in to be the head coach, they were bringing them in to run the Dak Prescott offense, right? You can add in your own flair, and they have, right? But think about how wildly different Mike McCarthy's, kind of West Coast based principled offense is from Linehan's Coryell based offense, right? But it's all ultimately about, calling the routes and plays that Dak likes to read and throw to. So I think now that we're kind of past all that, and you're not necessarily trying to look at the situation as who's the most exotic play caller that can be, that we can hire. I think you look at the situation where you are going to be able to inject new ideas, try new things, but also have the familiarity that you require, because your offense isn't going to ultimately change a terrible amount, right? It's going to change in the margins. And when you look at it like that, I think the Schottenheimer hire makes a lot more sense than folks kind of nationwide are giving it credit for. I don't think it's necessarily the inspiring pick that, you know, some folks see with Vrabel or some of these former coaches that are coming back, or some of the hot new coaches. But I think as far as like a guy that is a new head coach, so he brings new ideas to the situation while somehow being familiar with the Cowboys situation as well and understanding all that it entails. Yeah, I think Schottenheimer was a really great choice in that sense. So I think that the folks just don't know how to read the situation until they see it kind of on the field. And then we'll see exactly kind of how perceptions change about the Cowboys and about Schottenheimer.
I mean, right now the whole setup is a huge question mark, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could call this team the Riddler. I mean, who knows? We don't know how Booker's gonna. Is he gonna be able to step in for Martin? We don't know how Tyler Guyton's gonna change year 1 to year 2. Is Cooper Beebe gonna make the same stride? We know what they got at tight end. Now they got a 2 receiver. Is he gonna be a 2 receiver? Who are they gonna move into the slot? Who's the running back? Can the quarterback stay healthy? They big enough on the defensive front? Are they playing odd front, even front? What are they going to do with his secondary? Secondary's a little bit still beat up. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. And so at the end of the day, Brian Schottenheimer got the job because they felt like that's the best transition that they had with the quarterback that they got. They got the quarterback. That's he's going to be the quarterback. So now, would it have made any sense to go hire John Gruden and bring the West Coast offense in here and his big verb? Probably not. Was John Gruden probably, arguably, I could say, the best head coach out there with a Super Bowl pedigree? Probably so, but not a good match for the quarterback. And so that's the whole thing. And Dak, you wanted the big contract and you wanted all these things, and buddy, you got it. And guess what? You got your second receiver and you got it. So now you better go perform or we're going to reset this whole deal. That's a fact.
Yeah. Coach, you went 47 minutes. I got to give you credit. You went 47 minutes before you brought up the contract.
I'm just telling you. I mean,
I'm not.
That's a hell of an over and under number. I mean, it ain't going away. It's not going away anytime for me soon. I'm just telling you, because I just think that there's so many different variables with it. But I'm gonna be positive, Jeff. You know what? The glass is half full right now. Don't you see that right there? You see that Ozarka bottle? It's half full, buddy.
All right. We're going to kind of follow that line, talking about some of the positions. We're going to do that when we can come back, take our final timeout, and our final segment of this show has flown by. And to me, anyway, whenever shows go by really fast, that means they're fun and then we're enjoying it. So thank you guys for being with us. Those of you that are watching live or listening later, we appreciate it. And this is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, we are back. The Cowboys Squad Show on a Monday night Cowboys talk with Landon McCool and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, so Bill Barnwell, he is one of the main NFL writers at the Four Letter Network. He gave a quick video take on the Cowboys, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically he said that this offseason, similar to recent offseason, the Cowboys believe their philosophy that they have a belief internally, and we've talked about this before, that they can turn around players that have been disappointments elsewhere, specifically higher picks that maybe have not panned out for other teams, but that the Cowboys believe that they can turn those players around and get them back to that level. He pointed out Jonathan Mingo, who we've talked about, and he says that they've done that again this offseason with some of their hirings. So my two questions are, what do you think of that? Is that a fair assessment? And, what kind of give me your confidence level? I know this is something, Landon, you guys have brought up on the Daily Show, but your level of confidence for kind of each position group right now as we stand here at the beginning of June.
Well, I guess we could start with running backs. I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of where he was going, but I think it's kind of a weird criticism, because you're constantly trying to find guys, right? Like, and just because I think, as kind of Coach alluded to earlier in the show, fit matters, like where you are and the support you have around you, and a lot of that stuff actually really does matter. So, we can haggle, we can argue if you want about the cost given up on some of those trades, or we can talk about, some of the way that some of these have turned out, or the way that, they try to develop some of those guys. But I mean, I'm not going to take a shot or criticize the Cowboys for going after folks that some team, and including the Cowboys, thought that they were really talented players that maybe didn't work out in the original situations that they were in, because I think that is a really great market inefficiency that they found. And I think it's never a bad thing to have talented guys on your team. As to the running back, room, I think it's fair to say that I don't have any confidence right now in the situation, because I don't know the situation, right? Like, I haven't seen Javonte Williams behind this offensive line. I haven't seen Miles Sanders, since being in Carolina. Miles Sanders goes from maybe the best rushing situation in all of football to maybe the worst. So it's kind of hard to, kind of get an idea of where this guy is at this point. Is he falling off the tail end of his career at 28 years old, or is he just the victim of a bad situation in Carolina? I don't know. Is Jaden Blue going to be as effective at making folks miss in the NFL as he was in college? Can he hold on to the football? I don't know. So I think it's hard to feel. I think there are some positions right now that I don't feel confident in, but that doesn't mean that I think that there's a problem at the position or that they haven't done enough. I think it more just means there's still more to be revealed about what's going on with the players at that position. And so, running back certainly falls into that category.
All right.
So, stop me if I've told you guys about a guy named Mike Giddings before. I'm on so many different things. Have I told you guys about Mike Giddings?
You have not.
Okay, so back in the late 90s, early 2000s, he had coached for San Francisco for a long time, and he came up with a system where he graded everybody in the preseason. He graded every NFL player. And then what he did was he just sold it to about 8 or 10 different teams, and he sold what he called his Giddings report. Mm-hmm. And I spent some time with him. I think the thing that and everybody, the beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. You guys know that. I mean, some guys like some guy. Here's what I loved, what he always did, was once he gave that player a grade, he either put the arrow going up or the arrow going down. Very seldom would there be a flat arrow. It's either going up or it's going down. And so when you look at the Cowboys, I think the players that are in question, positions in question, I think you look at the Williams, the kid that he comes from Denver. Okay, he was a damn good back at North Carolina. He goes to Denver, gets two different head coaches. Or did Peyton draft him? I'm not sure. Did Sean Payton draft him?
No, Peyton didn't draft him.
Okay, so Peyton doesn't draft him. Comes in there. Maybe he doesn't fit what Sean wants as a back. Gets hurt. But at the end of the day, I don't know how you could put him with his arrow going down at his age. Miles Sanders, I don't know that you could put him with his arrow going down at his age. And so you've got to go into training camp and you got to think, okay, how do these guys still have the arrow going up? Is there still have they reached their top floor yet? Because that's what you have to ask yourself. And then I believe the same. I feel the same way about the secondary. About do we really know what Bell, Makuamu? I mean, there are several guys, and you're going to have to. This is going to be a big training camp for this organization because they need to gauge where they're at, and then they need to make sure that they're specifically seeing what they want to see out of these guys that they brought in, and then some of these younger guys that need to be thrown into the fire and need to go play. Bell's been a hell of a special teams player. It's time for him to take his next step. It's time for some guys to take their next step. And so how the pro personnel department looks at these guys and then how they finish that grade with it. Is it going up on a young football team? And if it is, then you know you've got yourself something there. And if it's not, then you got to start looking at turning the bottom end of the roster, and you got to do it real quick when you get into training camp.
I like it. Landon, what are some of your other thoughts on just position groups as a whole right now?
Well, I mean, if we just kind of wanted to go, down the line and offense, I mean, I think, I feel confident-ish. Obviously there's going to be questions about everything, right? Because, progression and where you are as a player is constantly in motion, right? But I think you could say that you probably feel confident about what you've got in the quarterback. I mean, at least you know what you have in your quarterback. The question is whether he's healthy, and I think if he's healthy, then you've got a really good quarterback. I think so. That's I feel confident there. We think we've discussed the running back situation. I think wide receiver, I feel pretty confident. I mean, I obviously I feel good about CeeDee Lamb and about what he can produce, and he's kind of proven to be consistently excellent and and able to produce at a high level despite who the quarterback is. So we just don't really know with George Pickens, as we've discussed ad nauseum on this show. It's just an unknown here. I do think that Tolbert and the rest of those guys kind of provide a level of confidence if you can have Pickens there to kind of slot them properly in their place. So I think right now I'd probably say I feel pretty confident about the wide receiver group because I do feel like there's a good chance that they're going to be able to produce. Offensive line, it's really hard to know. I think Coach laid out the issues there. I think you've got a brand new starter at left tackle. I mean, you saw Guyton kind of go through it last season, and there was sort of up and down situations. I thought he put some really good tape out there, but the consistency was certainly an issue. Yeah. And I think, he needed to get stronger. It looks like from what we've seen, he may have done that, but there's just too much unknown. And then obviously with the rookies there as well, and a new offensive line coach, and that's going to change some of the techniques. I saw somebody talking about Terrence Steele in the chat. I think that we should be giving Terrence Steele kind of another opportunity, another look here with the new techniques that they're going to be using with Clayton Adams and Connor Riley. I kind of feel like the one-handed outside throwing that he was doing in pass protection under Solari was kind of causing him problems. I think Duke Mayweather has pointed that out as well at different points. So I think that's a huge unknown. So we'll see. I think tight end, I feel confident about a high floor there just because I think if Ferguson's healthy, you've got something. I just don't know where that ceiling is. Like, I think, could Ferguson take a step? Is Schoonmaker going to ever take a step? Are we going to see Brevin Spanford be a different type of player than what we expected? I think they have a lot of good talent there, but I don't know that we necessarily just know exactly how that's going to turn out. And then the defense, I'll go quickly, I guess. The defense, defensive line, I think it's an unknown situation. I think it has the potential to be very, very good, but I also think that there's a lot of uncertainty there, specifically at defensive tackle and nose tackle, who's going to be stopping the run. At linebacker, it's how could you feel confident? There's just so much unknown there. You're dealing with injury and then 2 veteran free agents, so I'm not feeling confident there, and I think that's the same with cornerback. I think there's a lot of talent there. I think it could be a very good situation, but there's a lot of injuries and there's a lot of kind of new guys in there. So it's hard to kind of get a grasp on that. I think safety is a position where you do feel confident just because you have guys coming back that you feel good about. And then you've got guys behind them that I think you also feel good about. So safety may be the one spot in the secondary where you feel like you do have confidence. I think that's it, right? Did I mention everything? Linebackers, cornerbacks. Yeah. So I think that's where we are, or at least that's where I am at as far as how certain do I feel like that situation is going to be a positive situation for the Cowboys?
I
think you revisit this 2 weeks into camp. This exact discussion.
100%.
You revisit it 2 weeks into camp, and you say, "Hey, what do we see?
Where's the arrow
that we think has become a non-question mark to us? What have we seen, and what do we get in the first game?" In that first preseason game, and guess what? All these guys are going to be playing. John Stevens, we've waited 2 years on him. He's a great athlete, unbelievable tight end. Guess what, bro? You better strap it up because you're going to go to you hear glass or smell shit in this preseason. Because we got to figure out what is it that you are. And I think there's multiple guys that are like that. And I think if that happens and you get 3 or 4 of these guys that show you big upside, which I think is very, very possible. I mean, all of a sudden you become excited about this football team. And I'm sure that it changes the vision of, well, are they a 7.5, 8-win team, or is this a 10-win team? And you're going to know that because I really do believe that you're going to see immediate pressure be put on these young players and find out if they can play or not. And then if they can't, you got to start turning the bottom end of this roster and you got to start moving some guys in and out of here.
All right. Well said. We will leave it on that note for tonight. OTAs continue tomorrow, another day on Thursday, and then mandatory mini camp next week. So we're getting there. 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, and for us, one show at a time. All right, for Landon McCool and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, thank you again to everybody for watching, listening, and all of you that were able to participate via the comment crew. We love you guys. We're here for you and appreciate you being part of the show. Don't forget, Landon and Marcus Mosier every day with the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'll be back tomorrow, right? So look forward to that, Landon. Thank you. And Coach, we'll do it again on Thursday morning with Marcus. All right.
Look forward to it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night, and thank you for watching. This has been the Cowboys